French pronounce it, l'amour suprême.
How'd you get that name?
When I started doing art again, I was working as an architectural designer for years, and then like I started doing art on the side, like just kind of like I felt like I needed to do something. I needed to do art, kind of express myself in a way. And I was listening to a lot of Coltrane at the time, and Love Supreme actually kind of was one of his main bodies of work that always had like an impact on me. And I would listen to that while I was working, and then like I wanted to find out more about that and his process of creating. And I realized like he had this spiritual like revelation when he made that.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was having the same sort of like spiritual, I don't know, awakening or something when I was doing my art. So I just took the Love Supreme and kind of put a French twist to it.
Was that the name you were using when you were tagging, or was there a different name before that?
Back when I was a kid growing up in the Bronx, I used to tag this name Sigma, which is S-I-G-M-A, and this Greek kid just gave it to me.
Okay.
He's like, you know what you should tag? You should just tag Sigma. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, that's your tag name.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, that's what I'll tag.
So you grew up in New York?
Yeah, I grew up in the Bronx.
In the Bronx. What's the coolest thing about being a street artist in the Bronx?
In New York?
Yeah.
I just feel like it seems like street art is kind of like New York is one of the central places that street art's kind of happening.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the famous street artists that kind of like started the whole scene of street art started in New York. Vale, Bass, like a lot of those guys, Lady Iko. It's just kind of like it's a place where a lot of the street artists go to kind of make a name for themselves. And I'm like, I was born and raised here. I did graffiti before street art was even born. So it was kind of like inspirational to kind of like know that, be like, I want to be a part of the scene, you know?
I heard that you were into skateboarding before you started graffiti. Is that true?
I was actually into graffiti before I was skateboarding.
Okay, it was
because it was like, it was like early 80s, mid 80s, like birth of hip hop. So it was like, that's, you're a young kid and that's your surroundings. That's the culture of like where you come from.
Yeah.
And then skateboarding's kind of like an import because like no one really skated in the Bronx.
Okay.
So it's like, you discover skateboarding and your only facets of like information was Thrasher magazine and the PAL videos if you get your hands on it.
Yeah.
So
it was like a transition from graffiti into skate culture.
Yeah, it was graffiti, skate culture. During that time it was also like, a lot of the heavy metal. So yeah, so that was kind of like the transition from, hip hop to skateboarding. So
what were your early influences for art when you were a kid growing up?
Growing up, the funny thing is like people are like calling it to Keith Haring and Basquiat now and Warhol, but like as a little child, my mom would take me on the subway trains and like, these trains would go through, certain stops and the doors would open, and I would see kind of like the blackened out billboard sections, but there was like Keith Haring chalk drawings all over it. This is before he blew up.
Okay.
So he was still like doing stuff on the streets, and to me as a kid that made an impact because it was like, there's a guy, dude, like that's so weird and completely different from what all the other graffiti guys are doing.
Yeah.
And like you've never seen anything like it. So like that definitely was like one of the main impacts because I always wondered as a kid, like who did that? Like who's the artist behind that? And you didn't have the information channels that you had today.
Nah, no way, no internet.
So it was like, you didn't find out about Keith Haring until you're like a teenager already, But like as a little child, you're riding the subways, you're seeing his works, like, all over the streets. So that was definitely one of the main influences. Jack Kirby with the comics, the comic books in general. The early skate artists like Pusshead, Jim Phillips. Those graphics were a big influence originally.
Did your family support you first when you became a street artist, or?
Well, my family was my mom and dad passed away years ago, so it was kind of like one of those things where I was an adult really early, like on my own early. So it's like you could, it was up to me what I wanted to do. There was like the only one that was supporting me was kind of like myself. So. Wanting to be a street artist wasn't like something that I thought I could make a career of. It's just something that I just did because, I love to paint. I did graffiti back in the days. All my friends painted in the streets, so it's kind of like, it's like a natural thing just to go out and paint with them. It
Now
wasn't
that
even a
you're doing
label. I don't even consider myself a street artist.
Oh yeah, because you're just running around. And,
Yeah, I'm just painting, and you know, it's only a small facet. It's almost like I do it for fun. I'm not really the kind of like, you know, where these guys just go hard and you know that's what they do all the time. I'm busy trying to make a living too, you know. So
Now that you're an established artist and you're still doing live paintings indoors, for example, is there a change in energy from when you were doing it on the street first, or is the same energy still there?
I think there's more energy doing it in front of people, because like when you're doing it in the streets, it's kind of like a solo thing where like you're painting by yourself, and then the viewer gets to see the after product. When you're doing a live painting, you're pulling these viewers into the process.
Yeah.
So they're becoming a part of the art process, which a lot of the street artists, you know, it's like they you know, a lot of the viewers of the street artists, they don't get to be a part of that. You know what I mean? And there's a connection that happens when people see like art happen on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, they feel like they're part of the art now.
Yeah.
They feel like they're part of the artist. They had some sort of formation in the artwork as they saw it, you know, like being birthed, you know. So I love the live painting. I love still painting in the streets, because now it's like we're doing legal walls. So we're doing legal walls. We invite everyone to come down and check it out, and it's like a whole slew of who's who and friends. So they come and watch us paint. So it's kind of the same thing.
What's the best place you've painted in the world?
There's just so many places that I've painted in the world that wow, I can't even. You know, it's probably Miami during Art Basel Week.
Okay.
Just because it's like all your friends are down there, like all the other street artists are down there, like the who's who of street artists. Everyone's just kind of like hanging out, drinking beers, having a good time, checking out what you're doing, and then you go check out what they're doing. People are watching you. And it's during Art Basel Week where Miami's transformed that 1 week because of all the creative energy that converges onto that one spot, you know? So I think I have to say Miami definitely, because it's like there's an energy there that you get creatively that you don't get from anywhere else. You know, Paris is awesome as well too. Just painted for Converse, the Converse event.
Have you visited the abandoned train stations in Paris, the tunnels?
Oh no. You know, it's like one of those things where I usually fly in for either the business,
For an event,
an event, and it's like I want to do that more. Like I want to go to the catacombs. I want to go like check out like abandoned train stations. I want to do like the underground shit that you don't normally see in Paris.
That's what happened to me when I was living in Europe, because when you're in Europe, everything's so close. Paris, Berlin, everything, just take a plane over the weekend.
Yeah, or train.
Yeah, and you don't even have to go see the Eiffel Tower, just like go see the underground stuff.
Yeah.
It's like insane.
Yeah, you've seen the Eiffel Tower once, you've seen it, you know, a million times, you know. So it's kind of like that's what I want to see next.
So there's like cities of people there, and it's like miles and miles of no lights, and it's just like tents and people living there, and it's insane.
Crazy.
And you can paint there, you can get killed
It's like
there.
the Morlocks, you know, in the X-Men comic books. There's like a civilization, like hundreds of, you know, feet below the city.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like a whole community.
It's still like that. It's not just in Paris. I mean, there's other people. Even in Vegas, the tunnels, the flood watch tunnels in Vegas. You know about those too?
No.
There's thousands of people living underneath these sewer tunnels in Vegas, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's super intense. And some people go paint there too, but you get shanked if you're in the wrong tunnel.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. It's like one of those places where you better know where you're going and who you're with. You know.
Yeah. When was the last time you had to run away from the cops?
The last time I had to run away from the cops was probably when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And at the time, you know, I think it was this all black Stan Smith sneakers that I had, laced up with the big fat laces. And cops were chasing us, started running. Of course, because you got the big laces, it's like those aren't running shoes. So they just like flew off instantly.
Yeah.
So I'm running through like the projects in the Bronx, shoeless, you know, cops chasing you, like hiding behind cars, you know, because they saw you doing graffiti or whatever, so they were like chasing you. And it was fun. I mean, like it was like at the time it was really scary, but you know, it was like a fun experience. I mean, before that, like we would hit like the layups on by Westchester Square, which is the 4, 5, and 6 line.
Okay.
That was more of like, you know, it was like do or die mission, you know. I didn't really have to run from the cops during any of those missions. It's kind of like in and out type of thing. But you know, cops always show up unexpectedly, so you never know. You know, you're just hitting up some wall in the streets, and you know they start chasing you. So
Did you ever have to do time?
never had to do time. Never busted. I've been quite fortunate and lucky. Knocking on wood here, because again, it's like I kind of stopped doing the illegal stuff years ago, just because the simple fact is like there's so much like available space.
There
now.
is.
Yeah, Brooklyn and New York City, like people are offering walls to you, especially when you make a name for yourself.
It's more welcome now.
Yeah, it's like welcome now, where it's like, hey, paint on my wall. Oh, hey, I got some walls for you. You want to hit up some walls in Jersey City? I got walls in Brooklyn, and it's like. To me, it's kind of like, what's the purpose of doing
Illegal graffiti. Yeah.
Not to say that you know I'll be riding the train and I'll see a wall or like an apartment building or something, and I'm like, that would be a perfect wall to hit. You know what I mean? That's always still in the back of your head.
Yeah.
But just taking the chance or the risk in general, I like to put my risks in other ways. You know what I mean? Like I like
That
to,
energy, put that somewhere.
Yeah, but it's still there.
What happened to me was I got caught and I had to go to jail like 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
And I just got tired of it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like eventually you're just like, how much more can I take of this? You know what I mean? And it's like, to me, it's kind of like, especially now too. Like I got a daughter, so it's like, it's, you know, her dad. It's not gonna sit well with her that her dad has to go to jail because he did graffiti. You know, so I tried setting an example for her too. So she doesn't know about the illegal stuff.
How has the street art scene changed in the past 10 years?
Completely. Well, just even the tools that street artists or graffiti writers use in general, like spray cans. Think about it. Like when I was growing up, it's Krylon or whatever you could rack from like a hardware store. Now you got Montana making every fucking product available. Super easy to do, like. A painting with no drips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the techniques and the tools have like become so refined, and just everything in general I think has become a lot easier. You know, accessible.
More accessible, more available.
Yeah, more available. Where it's not really underground anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like mainstream at this point. You know, and so I mean that's the biggest change that I've seen.
How has your artwork embraced that change?
Well, you know, as far as artwork goes, I just try and go like more intricate, complex. Take my time. I'm not rushing. I'm not doing a throw up. I'm just kind of like, I get to do what I would normally do in my studio. So the streets have kind of been like your studio in a way as well too. It's not just, you know, you're rushing to get something done to get it up. You're taking your time to get it up, you know? So, I mean, that's a big thing too. And not only that, but painting with guys like Nitros and Tristan Eaton and Buff Monster, it's like, these guys are fucking like really good painters, you know what I mean? So it's like, you really have to refine your skill with like the spray can, otherwise there's like that camaraderie taunting, you know? It's like, you don't got those you know, the can control, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like that aspect of it too. It's like the can control now, I've actually like worked on it in the last couple of years where I'm focusing more on just all cans, like no more brush outlines, like doing a painterly style with all cans.
Well, now you have like different caps you can use.
Well, I just like to use the stock Montana caps because the simple reason is it's pretty versatile. And it comes with the can, so it's like it's really accessible, and the amount of control that you can get with that stock cap is pretty. It's amazing, you know. So I mean, that's what I use, kind of thing. Like when I do a painting, a huge painting, I just did these big panels from Woodward Gallery, and the people that from the gallery came into my studio and they saw the panels and they're like, "Wow, what kind of brushes did you use?" I'm like, I used only one brush.
Yeah.
There's like a round brush with a pointy tip that you can control the thick of the width of the, you know, the lines.
Yeah.
Same thing, you know. Keep it simple and keep it kind of like really accessible, and you know, try not to work with anything that's too crazy. It's like artists that have like these special like tools or whatever. It's kind of like, dude, I go to Argentina or I go to like Japan or I go to Berlin. It's like I don't want to be looking for this shit.
Yeah,
Or I don't want to remember,
yeah.
like, having to remember to bring everything. It's like, I just want to, like, boom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, buying spray paint here is a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
That's one
I can
thing.
imagine. I was in Beijing and I thought it would be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But there was a store. They took us to the store, which is like literally blocks away, and they had like every MTN 94, Montana. They had everything there in
Yeah.
Beijing. I was like, Beijing's kind of like Wild West.
It is, man, yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of everything, art, graffiti, architecture.
Lawlessness.
What are some techniques you want to like investigate or experiment with in the future?
Well, I've been like, I just kind of like been experimenting lately with like colors as a background, typography as like an added element to what I normally do, which I didn't do before. Layering as far as like images, you know. So it's kind of like you have your color, and then you may have like images and typography with the color, and then you'll do your black hard outline over it. So I just kind of been experimenting with like layers and different typography, and obviously the horror comic imagery. So I mean, that's kind of like, I just want to keep it moving, keep it fresh. Like I wasn't doing that last year.
Okay.
So it's like every year I just want to keep, because like, you know, people see your work and they just want to copy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But then you yourself also get inspired by other artists. So.
Of course, and I always want to be constantly moving and changing. So if somebody's already copying your work, I'm already on to the next thing. You know, and I don't care then.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not like some bitter dude knowing like, that dude copied my style, you know, or like that guy's like totally biting my steez. It's like, dude, you're an artist, keep going, you know?
It's all about self-evolution. Have you painted anywhere in Buenos Aires so far? Or?
I did. There's a Starbucks where I guess Tristan Eaton painted like last year.
Okay.
So the PUMA people took me there the first night that I got in, and you know they brought some cans and I just started painting. You know, and what's cool is like there was this like pipe sticking out of a wall, like maybe about 2 feet high. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to incorporate that pipe into this piece. I'm going to make like a 3-headed kind of like monster that I normally make, but I'll have that pipe as the penis. So it's like you're not only incorporating just like the 2D-ness of like a wall, but like everything else that goes with, you know, the existing environment, you know? And that's kind of like, to me, it's like that's what I want to experiment more too. It's like somebody gave me a shirt yesterday, and it said "Friendship is a religion," you know, but it had like all this blank space and you wanted me to draw on it. So I drew Simon, Psycho Simon as a Grim Reaper, and like Jesus Christ, kind of like shaking hands.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that. What already existed inspired me to create. You know what I mean? Like and adapt.
Adapt to what's in the
Yeah.
environment. Okay. Cool, man.